Welcome to our fifth and final video in our study planning video series. In this video, we'll provide you with a top 10 list of metacognitive learning strategies you can start to use right away in your everyday study sessions. Beyond that, we'll also show you a compilation of strategies listing 35 methods and techniques you can use as well. Let's go ahead and get started. First up on our top 10 learning strategies list, if you will, is previewing, which we've already talked at length about in our previous video. Number 2, preparing for active reading. This is where you can create questions for yourself to answer while you read. If you see sections with subheadings, try to learn the connections between all the subheading topics and how they relate to the main section heading. Number 3, paraphrasing. This is a very simple but effective technique. As you're reading text, at the end of every paragraph you read, stop and pause for a moment and reword everything that you just read in that paragraph to yourself in your own words. If you're unable to do this, it might be a clue that you don't have enough of an understanding of what you just read. You may need to go back and read it again. Number 4, reading actively. This is where you can do things like highlighting, taking notes, jotting down questions you want clarification for later from your instructor or a tutor or some of your classmates. Create flashcards, make concept or mind maps, or create outlines. Number 5, using the textbook even if it's not required. At some point you may find yourself with an instructor who's trying to save you a few dollars at the bookstore and says you don't need to go purchase the book for the course. Instead, they may offer you notes or lecture notes for the course. The problem with trying to rely solely on the notes or lecture notes provided by an instructor and not utilizing a textbook is that those notes or lecture notes were created by the expert in that field or that subject matter, your instructor. Textbooks often don't assume you know everything beforehand. Textbooks can absolutely be beneficial to you to pick up small, key concepts that you might otherwise miss. Number 6, going to class and taking notes by hand. In this day and age of technology, it's much easier for some to want to type notes on a laptop. But studies show that actually writing out notes by hand makes better connections in your brain with the content you're writing down. Number 7, doing homework without using solved examples as a guide. A good example of this is if you ever take a math course, you're doing a problem in the textbook and you just get stuck. You do not know how to proceed through the problem. Lots of people think, I'll just look at the back of the book at the answer and figure out what I might be doing wrong. The problem with that is you're not actually allowing your brain to make the connection of where you may have made the mistake in that process. If you resolve to go through a problem all the way to the end, even if it's wrong, and then look at an example and try to figure out where you went wrong, you will actually make much more concrete connections and remember better where you went wrong and try not to do that in the future. Number 8, teaching material to a real or imagined audience. We talked about this in a previous video, where whatever you're reading or ingesting, try to imagine you have to teach it to a 7-year-old and a 70-year-old. Number 9, working in pairs or groups. Whenever possible, it's highly recommended to study with 3 or more people at a time. This allows you the opportunity to learn from other people's perspectives and understandings that might be better than yours. And at the same time, if you understand something a little bit better than someone else in your group, you provide that opportunity to learn from you. This is still possible even if you're taking an online course. All you got to do is reach out to some of your classmates and set up video chats. And finally, number 10, creating practice exams. It's always a good practice whenever you're studying that anytime you come across information that you think might be very important or beneficial for you to know later in an exam, jot it down. Pretend you're the instructor that is making out the exam for your midterm or even your final. If you think that might be on the test, it's probably worth writing down to ensure you do know it later. And here is a list of 35 general and metacognitive strategies mixed together that can help guide you towards truly learning at the college level. If you've already located, downloaded, and printed the PDF handout entitled Study Planning Workshop Handout, you'll notice that this list is page 3 of your handout for you to keep. Most of the content from this study planning video series came from this book, Teach Yourself How to Learn. If you'd like to dive even deeper into metacognitive learning strategies and how they can work for you, I highly recommend that you pick this book up for yourself. That concludes our study planning video series. We at the Star Center on Montgomery campus hope you learned a lot, and we look forward to the opportunity to continue to be part of your college success.